Hello, everyone. Happy August. It's been a minute. We took a little time off from our master classes, and I'm happy to be back. I am waiting for Shiva to jump in and join us and getting our technology aligned. Wanted to talk about what we're choosing and choosing our path, and so many different things that I want to share today. As we kind of kick things off here at the top of the hour, give it just a minute for people to join in. But I wanted to, I had the beautiful fortune to be at a high school this morning with a wonderful group of administrators really kicking off this school year here in Las Vegas. And we got a chance to really dive into the path that they are on, not only as individuals, but also collectively as an administrative team in really guiding their school. We got a chance to talk about a lot of juicy topics and a lot of things that really resonate with what are we choosing and how are we choosing that intentionally? And what does it mean to actually choose things on purpose on a daily basis, even in the face of the chaos and the stress and the stuff that's going on a daily basis. So a lot of you listening are getting ready to kick off the school year. Some of you from around the world are already in the middle of your school year. So wherever you are, there's always a moment that you have the opportunity to recalibrate. There's always a time when you can actually take your power back and go, no, this is what I'm going to choose. This is my intention, right? This is who I'm going to show up as. And so when we can do that and do that on purpose each and every day, we can actually allow ourselves to dive in and create the life that we love. And that's really what we're going to chat about today. So Shiva's having a little bit of technical challenges coming in, so she'll be here soon. And while we are waiting for her, those of you that get my newsletters, my blogs, and the emails, I ask some questions in there around what are you choosing, right? What have you chosen so far? Maybe it's this summer, maybe it was this past school year that you are proud of. If you could type in the chat and let me know, what are you proud of that you've chosen so far? Like, what are those things that you're like, yes, that was a good choice, whether or not you knew that it was going to be a good choice in the beginning or not? What are those things? Because when I think back to this summer and the travels that I was able to do, and with my niece one-on-one traveling through Europe, and then with my family, being able to really connect and have us be living in alignment with our value of play and adventure. And there was a lot going on during that trip. Hi, Shiva. And a lot of opportunities for me to really dive into where I was living in alignment with my core values. And so much of what we navigate through on life is choosing things that are either in or out of alignment with our core values. And that really is that anchor point of choosing your path in life. Because when we're choosing it because we quote unquote should, or because someone else is doing it that way, we're not really anchored in our core values. And it was little things like, I got to hike to the top of an active volcano on the island of Pico in the Azore Islands with my family. And it was an incredible trip. And as you can imagine, we're all following each other up the trail. We had a guide with us. And along the way, they had given us walking sticks to help. And I got to the place where it was like, okay, these are awkward. So the majority of the time, I'm just holding them in one hand and using my hand to climb. And the guide finally said, let me hold those for you if you're not going to use them. I said, I appreciate that. And then recognized that everyone else in my family was using the hiking poles. And I wasn't. It was like, I need to figure out what works for me in order for me to feel safe and cared for and enjoy this adventure. And then it got to a point where it was like, okay, now, I needed the walking poles back to do the next part of the trail. And then all of us had to put them down for the final ascent to the very top of the volcano. And then on the way down, they definitely were needed quite a bit as well. So they were beneficial, but not the entire time for me. But that didn't make it good, bad, right, or wrong for anyone else. It was about for me. And choosing my path in those micro moments allowed me to stay aligned to my core values of what resonated with me versus being frustrated that I was holding these poles. I simply allowed the guide to give me the suggestion that that was an option, because otherwise I was just going to hold on to them. But trying to use them was taking away from my joy of the experience that I was having. And one of my core values is joy. So in order to feel that and embrace that, I needed to really pay attention to what was happening along those micro moments of the journey. And so when you connect these into, like, what are you proud of about yourself? What are you proud of about really what you've accomplished and how you've been able to navigate the wild ride that we've been on for the last 2.5 years? And not that it's not a wild ride all the time. Like, come on, let's be real. Like, it's the world of education. We're constantly growing and learning. There's constant change. That's true for most industries. But I think we pour an extra dose of icing or cherry on top to the to the wild ride in education. So Shiva, I wanted to give you a minute to kind of settle in as I finish that story. But what are you proud of so far, either in the last school year or this past summer for you as an individual, as an educator, as a leader? What are you proud of?
I'm most proud of, especially in the last school year, was really being intentional about creating relationships with students who 2 school years, or at least a year and a half prior, were just used to sitting at home by themselves and seeing kind of school and life happen online.
Yeah.
And I will just be honest in saying, and I know, a lot of educators have the same story. It was really rough for those first like 6 to 8 weeks. Just getting students acclimated with, how we're supposed to operate in a classroom again, right? Mm-hmm. How to navigate the space with their peers. What are the social norms, right? What can we say? What don't we say? And then you have the COVID regulations as well, mm-hmm. right? You need to be 6 feet apart, 3 feet, whatever it is that your district said. But I think to be able to create the classroom cultures that I had created pre-pandemic was really, really something that I was proud of myself for, and then the evidence of that was just getting emails from students that said, thank you so much for a place where I felt safe to really express my ideas and to learn. So yeah, that was a great thing that happened this last school year.
That's awesome. And so when you think forward, and we talk a lot about being more connected to our future than our past, like take what worked from the past, and then pull the lessons forward from the things that didn't work so well. What are those opportunities as you're looking forward to grow and learn?
So I think now, especially since a lot of the mandates have changed around, COVID protocols and things mm-hmm. like that, I think what I can take from what, happened the last school year and then really bring into this, upcoming year is just more relationship building, creating more opportunities for students to really engage with their peers and then with the work that we're doing in class too, and just to really make that learning more meaningful. Right. So we're not survival mode anymore. Now we're learning in its true essence mm-hmm. and its true form. That's what I'm really taking into this next school year, Sandy.
It unlocks so much, right? Yeah. When we know that we are safe, we know this. It's not rocket science or new information. And sometimes there's pitfalls, there's icebergs that really derail us, right? Oh, yeah. From achieving those goals and really being and staying on the path that we chose. Like, wait a minute, how did I get off this path?
Right.
What are some of those things that either you personally or you've seen others, like what are those things that derail you?
Especially in education, just from being an instructional coach and a teacher as well. I think it's just, and I know that teachers are flexible when, crazy things happen within the class. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of the district and administrative mandates
Mm-hmm.
that come at educators that can really, really derail all of the cool things that she had in mind. You know, because let's just say now, sometimes they'll say you have to input 5 grades in a week. But then this new school year, no, we need 10. So, so then it's like, you know what, forget
Yeah.
all this cool stuff, kids. I have to just grade.
Right.
So I think in my experience, I think that that's what can cause a lot of the derailment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's so much. And I mean, let's just pull it out to like life wise as well. So my older sister and I went to our multi-year high school reunion last weekend in Big Bear, which was amazing. I'm so grateful for all of the humans that helped plan it, and like such an amazing planning committee, and it went off just beautifully. She and I, we stayed at the ranch where the reunion was all weekend. There was a handful of us that were able to stay at the ranch. And so she and I were planning to come back midday on Sunday to drive back into Las Vegas. She lives in Florida. She flew in and out from here. And we had planned a 2-day trip, 2.5-day trip with my mom and my little sister, so that the 4 of us could celebrate my mom turning 70. And sorry, Mom, I just said that out loud. So Stacy and I had this plan of our timeline coming back on Sunday, and we were going to check out by 11, grab lunch, and then drive off the mountain around 1 o'clock. Well, we woke up. There was scheduled to be rain on and off throughout the weekend, but it really didn't impede on our reunion, which was kind of cool. How we were expecting like flash floods at the moment we were going to have dinner, and it didn't happen. It rained a little bit, but it didn't derail anything. Well, Sunday morning, it decided to pour like crazy, and so I've lived in the desert for 24 years now. Like when it rains, it pours. Like we have monsoons. But it's not like living in Florida. Like my sister lives in Florida, like it rains all the time. She's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Like put your raincoat on and handle the thing. Whereas I'm like trying to wait it out because that's what we do in the desert. Is like it'll pass. It's a monsoon type of rain, and it's not passing and it's not passing, and it's like 10:30. We're supposed to be checked out by 11, and I'm like, when is it going to stop so we can pack the car without being drenched and having all of our things drenched? And it's not stopping, and it's not stopping, and so then we're all checking the weather, and we're all trying to navigate, and so we finally get the car packed, and we're like, okay, well, let's still go and have food, and then we'll take off from there. And it looks like the storm will have passed. Well, we get to lunch, and so that was one little obstacle, right? And we start rolling with it. Then we get to the place where we're going to have lunch, and she gets out of the car to go check and see if there's a table. I'm parking, and then she's like, it's cash only. It's like, oh, well, I have cash, so it's fine. She's like, I don't have any cash left. I was like, okay, I do. We're good. So we go into the restaurant, and we order. I go to shake the ketchup. The lid's not on. So that's an adventure. That's just fun little things, right? Little things, like not big catastrophic, like no one's hurt, like we're still okay, but like little annoyances throughout the day. And I just keep breathing, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not as bad as the time that I was at my very first job, sales training after my first promotion ever at 23 years old. And I'm wearing khakis and a white polo because that's how you had to dress in corporate world of like, anyways. And I go out to lunch and I shake the mustard bottle and end up with it all over me. Thankfully, because of that lesson, I'd learned to shake the ketchup over here and it didn't end up all over me. So I was grateful that it wasn't worse. So then I start looking at the road conditions because it was a pretty decent storm. And now the waitress is telling us that one of the roads off the mountain is closed because of a rock slide. and I'm looking at the road where we are and looking at Caltrans, and there's a spot on one of the roads through the desert where there's some pretty decent dips where water can sometimes be crossing the road and it's not really safe for my car to drive. So now we're having to pivot again, and it's like, okay, well, what time can we leave? What do we think? We're watching the radio, we're watching all these things, and we're like, okay, well, we might as well go to our family's cabin that's up there, which we hadn't stayed in. We had stayed at the ranch for the reunion. And we were planning on doing laundry at my house and then getting to the hotel. Again, all of our plans are being derailed and pushed at this point. And so then we go and we're like, well, maybe we can, stop and get a pedicure, make lemonade out of lemons. And we're trying to find a place for pedicures. There's no place either open, or they're not answering the phone, or they're all booked. And we're like, okay, well, that's not happening. So then we go, okay, well, let's get gas. Now we pull in to get gas. Then the power goes out like 30 seconds before we go to get gas. So we can't get gas because the power is out. So then we go up to the cabin. We're going to do laundry. Well, the power is still out. Well, the power at the cabin is connected to the water because they have a main water shut off. So now we can't go to the bed. Well, we have total of 3 toilets in the cabin, so we have 3 flushes. That's it, right? And and we can't do laundry because the power is out. We're like, right. So nap time. Like, what are you gonna do? And this proceeded to us then driving off the mountain around 7 p.m. There were a few other things that happened along the way, just little nuances. The drive was safe because we'd waited out the storm. Thankfully, we did, because there was a lot of road debris that we were able to navigate through that. Had it been raining, it would have been a mess. Then we get to check into the hotel. It started again, like one thing after another for like the next 12 hours until my mom arrives the next morning, and even a little bit bleeding into the first part of her arrival, where there's like squishy carpet water damage in the hotel room. There's a dirty toilet. There's like so many things that are just derailing our plan. And so when we think about the path that we're on and our intention,
right,
what are we going to do about it, right? How are we going to navigate through it? And when Stacey and I and Stephanie kind of reflected on like, what were we most proud of and grateful for the weekend, for the time that we did have, regardless of all the stuff. And it was really how we navigated it together and just flowed, right? We just handled one obstacle at a time and went, okay, now what? Okay, now what? Versus fighting against the roadblocks that we kept getting. It was like, nope, don't go there. Nope, don't go there. Nope, don't go there. We're like, and sometimes it's a timeout or nap time, right? Sometimes it's just, okay, nap time. Have you ever like been facilitating, coaching, teaching, and nothing is working? Everything you're trying is just falling flat. Like I've been there. And finally, like I'll go, okay, what do you need? I'll just pause and go, I'll just own it and be like, okay, what I had planned is not landing the way I intended it to. So let's pivot. Like, what do y'all need? Like, I'm here to serve you. Like, let's figure this out.
Absolutely.
And,
no, absolutely. And especially for teachers, I think that we can still have the dream that we have in our minds, kind of be out there in the sun. And I think that when we're planning, because so much of teaching is planning, in our profession, we really have to plan for the what ifs.
Yeah.
So I know for me, let's just say I want to do, a Socratic seminar a week. I'm an English teacher in case, people didn't know. And Socratic seminars take so long to get, especially if you're just teaching it to a group of students that haven't really seminared. So what I do is I give myself 3 versions of what this Socratic seminar could look like.
Yeah.
So in the event of, let's just say a derailed trip off a Big Bear, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
If that happens, okay, so we can still Socratic seminar, but we're just going to do it this way. Right? I'm going to use my guided notes with the students. I'm going to let them, bring their notes to the discussion. Usually in Socratic seminars, the students only talk to each other. I'm just kind of out facilitating. But if I know I don't have that kind of time because of, whatever pressures are coming in from admin or the district, well, in this discussion, here I am.
Yeah.
So I'm still able to have this experience. It's just modified. Yeah. And I think that going into the next school year, and I'm not saying create 3 different plans. No, don't do that. But, right. But just be able to move around a couple of things, right? So you have 3 versions of it that work for whatever may come your way. Mm-hmm. Right? So we can still, have a great trip.
Right.
Ride the roller coaster of all the things that may happen.
Yeah, because that's life, right? Is when we set the why we're doing what we're doing and when we're doing it, right. And we let go of the how,
right?
The how is going to fall into place because there's so many other things that are outside of our control. I had that conversation this morning with the group that I was coaching at the high school. Is we set our intentions at the beginning of the workshop of, what do they want to get out of it and what are their goals, and sharing kind of the agenda of my plan as well, and kind of coming to that consensus. And one of the administrators at the end, she's like, I didn't do so good on mine of being present and actively learning. I go, really? Because I actually felt like you were completely engaged and, you've shared some things that you've learned along the way. And she goes, yeah, but I got derailed at the end by a phone call from one of my children. And she had to step out. And I was like, so was your expectation 100%? She goes, yeah, it always is. I said, and sometimes maybe we just plan for the chaos, right? Like you're talking about, we just know that it's going to happen, and how we're going to navigate through us in a way that's aligned to our core values allows us to mitigate, right? To navigate those micro moments that can turn into huge mountains if it throws our nervous system off kilter, right? Because just one thing, I could have gotten to the gas station and had the power off, and I could have lost my ever-loving mind. And probably 10 years ago, I might have. Not like I wouldn't have, hurt anyone or like anything like that. Like I wouldn't have gone that crazy. But it would have derailed, like I would have been in tears, like nothing's working, like I can't this, and I get like, versus really taking the time and intention that I have over the last 15 to 20 years of noticing what's resonating and what's not, and being able to pivot. Like in the Friends episode where Ross yells out, pivot. There's a whole meme of it, the of you that are fans of the show Friends. But it's true. Like we're in charge of our life. Like we get to choose our path. Yeah. And we get to be open if that path isn't available because the other one might emerge. Like once we know more, then we can make the next decision. I share that with my son all the time. I'm sure you share that with your children all the time when they get all in their own heads about, but I want my entire life planned out and mapped out perfectly, and I want it all to fall into place. And right. They're trying to navigate, when I hit that promotion in my career and I'm making $1 billion and I'm doing, yes. And how about we come back to focusing on your resume? And we come back to getting to this place where we can actually get you the job first, and then we can go to the next step. Because when we can focus here, when we get here, we'll have new information. Then when we get here, we'll have new information. And so choosing your path and creating your vision is just one step in the process, because then you get to release it and trust that there are so many factors at play that will work in your favor when you follow the resonance. When we choose to stay more connected to our future than our past, then we choose to be in alignment with our core values and what is working for us and the highest and best version of ourselves, versus the things that didn't necessarily resonate or didn't go really well in our past, because it's really easy to hang on to those things, right?
It is.
How often are we celebrating those micro moments versus nitpicking and judging? Because when you've had to pivot in Socratic seminars, right? when I had to pivot in my coaching or in life, like we've all had to pivot like that, there's a roadblock. And instead of judging and getting angry at it, celebrate your ability to navigate it with grace.
Totally.
And when you can't, then go, okay, I felt all of that. And on the flip side, what did I learn?
Absolutely.
What did I learn? So I want to leave everyone with a nugget. Shiva, what's the nugget you want to leave everyone with today?
I think I've said it before, but we can always remind ourselves. I mean, in education, there are so many variables that we can't control. And a lot of the times they're sitting in our classrooms. Mm-hmm. But what we can control is our response to things that happen. So, as we're heading into a new school year, let's just hold on to that, right? We can control how we show up every day.
Absolutely. And that is what your culture is. You are in charge of your life. That is a beautiful gift. And my nudge to all of you is to celebrate you, every part of you, because you are freaking worth it. And you are enough exactly where you are, and you are doing a brilliant job. Continue to inspire and influence. Continue to love the unique, amazing human that you are and all those that you serve. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 6 senses of culture and diving into that conversation, which is super fun. And so I would love anyone that wants to join us on the panel. We can talk about that together and get more advice and quick wins and things to share with one another. So I wish you all a beautiful rest of your week and weekend ahead. Love you all. Thank you for joining us and happy to be back. Enjoy your day, everyone. Bye-bye.